Welcome to Inside Aesthetics, the world's most listened to podcast for injectors and aesthetic businesses. I'm Dr. Jake Sloan, a facial aesthetic doctor, trainer and speaker with over 17 years experience.
And I'm David Siegel, an aesthetic entrepreneur and business mentor who's been working within our industry for over 2 decades. IA is a podcast aimed at educating aesthetic practitioners from around the world. The information contained within our episodes is general in nature and should not be used by the general public to make health or treatment decisions. You should seek the advice of a qualified healthcare professional in your country and have a bespoke consultation.
For our latest news, you can follow us on Instagram and TikTok, and now you can also watch our full episodes on YouTube and Spotify. All of our links are down in the show notes below. Now let's get into today's episode. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Inside Aesthetics, the world's most listened to podcast for injectors and cosmetic businesses. Now, as you can see, we're here at the ICC conference again. This is, I think, our 4th podcast here already. So if you haven't seen the other ones, check them out. Now, who do we have today?
We've got Dr. Rami Abadi all the way from Lebanon, meeting us here in Egypt at this amazing conference, as Jake said. And we're going to talk a little bit about regional specific beauty. We did do a mini-series a little while ago called The Beauty of the World, where we explored, what makes people beautiful based on where they are in the world. How do we approach different faces? And so we thought we'd revisit, the Lebanon region or the Middle Eastern region and get your perspective as a practicing dermatologist. You obviously do lots of these treatments. So that's what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, and I'm here with my man, Rami.
Yeah.
Rami, we met, I think it's 2019 in Dubai when we first met. We've been friends ever since. But anyway, tell us about, first of all, your experience here at ICC.
So I'm happy to be here, happy to be part of the podcast. So we came in yesterday. It's one of the biggest conferences in the region and attracts so many of the top speakers from all around the world. And we're so happy that you guys are also here sharing this experience with us.
Tell our listeners a little bit about you, your background, where you're from, your job, etc.
So I'm a dermatologist from Lebanon. I'm the vice president of the Dermatology Society. I'm the next president of the Lebanese Dermatology Society. I started practicing aesthetics during our residency. So I have more than 15 years of experience in aesthetics. And so we have 3 clinics in Lebanon, in the north, in Beirut, and in the south. And I also work in Dubai and in Qatar on a regular basis. I worked a little bit in the Ivory Coast before, which is also interesting.
In Africa, yeah.
And I give a lot of trainings in the region and beyond as well.
Okay, so from your experience, what do you think is the biggest difference between what we consider Western beauty and beauty in the Middle East? And then maybe we can go even more specifically around, the different regions within the Middle East as well, because you mentioned, you're obviously injecting Qatar and so on. So yeah, can we talk about that?
First, I want to start, I don't know if everyone feels that they work in the most difficult region, but for us, it is a challenge because it's a mixture of all the different cultures and the impact of that. So we have people asking for natural beauty. However, they still want it to be visible. So that's a little bit unlike other areas in the world where natural is more natural. So we just have to make sure that we're meeting our patients' expectations. And sometimes we have to know where to draw the line because we don't want to overfill our patients, we want to maintain natural results. However, we want the results to be a little bit more visible maybe than in other countries. And that's the challenge, how you can make it visible, but at the same time, respect all the different ratios and guidelines to maintain natural results.
And is that the same in Lebanon as Qatar?
Maybe in Qatar or in Dubai. Dubai is completely different because we deal with different types of patients. So in Dubai, we have European patients that want very subtle results. We have a lot of Middle Eastern patients, expats that are Lebanese, Syrian, different countries. We have people from, I have a lot of patients from Turkey and from Iran. And we have the locals. So it's a completely different ballgame where you're dealing with a lot of people. Actually, I also have a lot of Asians, a lot of people from China that I have to work with. So you really have to, Dubai's challenging because you really have to know all the different perspectives and all the different concepts of beauty to be able to tailor treatments to all these different types of people with different expectations.
The word natural is like this term that's thrown out everywhere around the world now. Everyone wants natural, but I think the word natural maybe means different things to different people. So you've got to try and interpret what that person's trying to say by the word natural. You're saying they want to look like they've had something done, but they don't want it to look ridiculous or over the top. So how do you kind of reconcile what is natural?
We have to always understand our
Yeah.
patient. So this is one of the things that we
So
really
to be a
have to.
psychologist as well.
This is what can sometimes differentiate different injectors. So the idea is take the time to understand the patient, understand patient expectations, and then natural, as you mentioned, the spectrum can be from here all the way to the other end. So it's like something that you really have to take the time to understand in the initial consultation to be able to tailor your treatment to meet patient expectations.
Can you give us some insight into what role religion or culture plays with people's beauty ideals? I mean, for me and David, it's amazing to come here, seeing so many different kind of faces and people, and even what people wear, kind of, you know, how they want to express their beauty. So when you travel around the Middle East, like, how does that sort of manifest in how you approach your patients, especially female patients, where maybe culturally you have to be a little bit more respectful?
It's more cultural and social media's impact, ideals of beauty. It's more than religion in general, because this is sometimes a misconception, because we have patients that come in from Saudi Arabia. You know, Lebanon is a hub for aesthetics as well. So when we have stability in our country, we have a lot of people coming in from different places, and then sometimes someone who's completely veiled or very religious, they come and they ask for visible results, because when they're back at home, they're not wearing the veil. So
They can enjoy it
so
more.
this is something completely different. So you really have to take, again, the time to understand every single patient to be able to tailor treatments based on patient expectation, and make sure you're satisfying that to be able to grow your practice and continue to tailor to different people.
So if we were to like look at the type of patients that you're seeing, you mentioned you talk treating quite a wide variety of different people, but like what's your typical patient profile? Like what would you say, like, 80% of your patients, their aesthetic is?
So we have a big practice, and we have at the moment multiple. The idea is mainly beautification patients, because we saw what in the past a few years that there's more demand for younger patients. I do a lot of lip treatments, and that brings in younger patients. But they stay with me for a long time, so they become older over time. But beautification patients are the main one, and also patients that are in their 30s, 40s. This is what would say is the biggest bulk of my patients in general. But we have all the different perspectives, because we offer holistic approaches. We have a lot of laser treatment. We combine different modalities of treatment, so we tailor to a large number of different types of patients as well.
Okay. And what about men? What are they asking for?
It's becoming more common, much more common than before. In our region, men is still not like the percentages that we hear about from our friends in Europe or in other countries, but the numbers are improving over time. We have a lot of patients coming for Botox now. We have maybe underarm Botox treatments for hyperhidrosis. And also we have a lot of patients that are defining their chin and jawline. So it's becoming more common. I'd say the percentage is probably up to 10% now. Before, I would say it was less than 5%. But with time, it's becoming more and more, it's increasing. There's a lot of patients that also come for PRP treatments or exosomes treatment for hair. So this is one of the major concerns that we see in our region as well.
And what role do you think that social media plays in people's wants and wishes for how they want to look? Because I know that in Western culture, there's a lot of influence from, people like the Kardashians, and, there's girls that, want to look, that kind of way. Do you feel the same things happens in the Middle East?
Yeah, of course, it's universal. Social media is universal. The impact it's having is universal. I think having a strong digital platform helped influence my practice as well. For us, celebrities, at one point, I think their influence was more powerful, because people wanted to look like them, and a lot of the more beautiful ones, like Miss Lebanon and Lebanon, eventually looked a lot like the Kardashians as well, and that really influenced our practice, because we have a lot of people in the whole region coming and asking for chin and jawline definition that's similar to hers.
Yeah.
But again, there is a thin line between overdoing it. So when she overdid it a little bit, people start coming in a few years later and saying, we don't want to look like her. So well, we should always be careful where to draw the line. I think it was overdone in our region, especially in the Gulf region, where a lot of influencers were being paid to visit clinics, and I think that made them lose credibility over time. I don't think the impact of celebrities right now is as it used to be. I think it's less because, like, when a celebrity comes to your bride, it doesn't give the same influence anymore because I think it was used and abused in our region where there's less restrictions on social media in general.
Do you have any regulations that you have to abide by? Can you do before and after
Yeah,
photos or testimonials?
it's quite lenient in our region, and that's why at one point I felt that maybe it was being abused. Like, some celebrities would visit clinics and they wouldn't undergo a treatment, just say that we visited and it's a very good clinic and we recommend you to come see this. That's why that's where I think people they started to lose a little bit of credibility when it comes to that specific topic.
So if we look at, say, the key areas of the face that are, the go-to, the lips, the cheeks, the jawline, what do you think the major differences are to the way that we treat them in the West versus the East?
So I can talk about lips because I'm considered a lip expert in our region as well.
To Australia, or did you do it online
I did
for
that.
Stephen Liu's conference
that was
many years ago?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, so if people remember Rami, he was the lip guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the idea is for lips in specific, I mentioned initially that we want the results to be natural yet visible. Yeah. So we tailor our treatments based on that. So they want results. It's going to be a little bit more than in other countries in general. For lips in specific, I wanted to say that in our region, whether I'm talking about Lebanon or in Dubai and even a little bit more in Qatar, they really want the lips to be visible in the majority of cases. Everyone calls it natural, even if they're overfilled. But so, like, one of my friends in the UK uses Volbella as his product of choice for lip fillers, and then for us, that's quite a surprise.
It would be seen ridiculous.
Yeah,
it's
for us,
too soft.
Even if you use stronger products, patients can come back 2 weeks later and tell you that I don't see any results. I said I want it natural, but not natural to the extent that my friends didn't notice it and my family didn't notice it and other people. So we really have to take the time, use a little bit of stronger products to make sure that we're like contouring, defining, giving projection, giving volume, but maintaining natural results at the same time.
Sounds like the Rami's job's easier than us in Australia because our patients, I mean, it's got a lot better in the last 10 years, but generally speaking, they really don't want people to comment. They might want to notice the change themselves, but they really don't want people going, your lips have changed. That would be like the worst thing that you can do. So
yeah, that's a compliment in our region.
So I think it seems like what they mean by natural is they want it to look enhanced, but they don't want it to look, not harmonious with the face. They don't want it to look like anatomically unusual, but they want it to be noticeable. So it's like I think it's a very elastic term.
Yeah.
And you'll find some people's faces are going to be able to potentially withstand greater enhancement than someone else's, depending on the rest of their features. And this is the challenge that you guys have sometimes as well, is that someone might bring in a photo of a model or a celebrity, or their friend has had treatment with you and they want the same result. And it's just not really possible because you're dealing with a completely different facial structure.
Yeah. I don't know if this is a question you can answer because every face is different, but you've done the same training as me. So we're taught about typical Caucasian features, Asian features. What's typical Middle Eastern features? Like what would be generically sort of treated?
So in general, Lebanon is a mixture of different ethnicities. So we have, I'd say it's more similar, but structurally it's more similar to Caucasian patients in general. Yeah. However, I can say that we have a little bit more heavy faces, more subcutaneous tissue over the cheekbone area. So we can use products that are that have a high G primer, yet it wouldn't show. Like when I have really bony patients, we have to be very careful with the thickness of products and where to place it. So we don't have that problem. We have maybe a little bit better skin in general, better as in a tighter skin. So I think we can get away with doing a little bit more when it comes to patients in our region.
Yeah, that's probably why you're doing more beautification. It just leans towards
and more volumes.
And more volumes.
Yeah. And you kind of mentioned a little bit, you worked in the Ivory Coast, and that's obviously, totally different facial structure to a point. So how do you approach, your African patients?
How did that come about?
Yeah, exactly.
So I I wasn't born, but I was raised in Africa, and I enjoyed my childhood in Africa. I consider that really special. And when I was invited to visit to the Ivory Coast, I was enthusiastic about going back. It was right after COVID. It's when COVID hit, and a lot of people from there's a huge Lebanese community that lives in the Ivory Coast, and they weren't being able to come to Lebanon like before with all the restrictions. So we thought about catering to that that community, and it was quite an interesting. I did it for like a year or a year and a half, and it was really interesting. Even though we saw a lot of patients that were originally Lebanese or other expats living there, we also tailored a lot to the African locals, and it was interesting because again, it's a different bone structure. I think the majority of the work was done on the chin and jawline areas because they had more receded chins. They have much bigger lips, but we can always use something just to enhance it or give it a little bit more hydration and color. It's completely different. It was mainly the chin that we were treating, but they have beautiful skin, tight skin, a completely different aging process with less sun damage, of course.
Skin quality is obviously important. You're a dermatologist. So what are the common things that your patients complain of in that part of the world?
So Lebanon is unique in that people really enjoy the sun. So it's not like other countries where they shy away from the sun. So we have beautiful weather. We have 4 seasons. So again, we're lucky that in winter we take the time to do more aggressive procedures like fraction lasers, lasers to remove the sun damage that they did a few months earlier. So yeah, so the sun, we know the impact sun damage can have on the skin, whether it's freckles or melasma or even aging and thinning of the skin and the neck and the décolleté area. So we do a lot of skin quality injectables and other procedures to reverse the signs of aging that were accumulated over the summer season. So it's a yearly treatment that we have to deal with our patients.
And what about preventative skincare? I mean, is sunscreen something that's widely used? It might sound like a silly question, but like I think it's been a battle for many doctors, particularly dermatologists, to get people into the habit. I think we're kind of there now.
Yeah.
Really, people in Australia specifically, it becomes their daily routine. Everyone's wearing sunscreen.
So again, for sunscreens, of course, we try to emphasize that to our patients, the importance of sunscreen. Again, since they like the tan and they like being tan, they're not going to really apply it regularly. We're lucky, I think, genetically to have less percentages of skin cancers. When I see my patients that visit from Australia, everyone's worried about skin cancers because technically they see much more. But genetically, we're not as prone. So they're less worried about their sun exposure in general. However, we try to always push them into applying sunscreens regularly. Also to maintain the results that we achieved in the winter prior, so that we don't lose everything and have to start all over again.
Hey guys, sorry to interrupt your podcast. Just a quick message about our Patreon and how you can support us as a podcast. So David, what is Patreon?
So Patreon is an on-demand subscription service that allows you to access our global community of practitioners, business owners, and essentially it's a place where you can come together, get positive support, advice. Whether you're a beginner or an experienced KOL, there is a place for everybody.
Yeah, so if you download the Patreon app, search for Inside Aesthetics, there are 2 main options to subscribe. You can become a free member where we can communicate with you, share our news, involve you in competitions, etc. Or you can become a full subscriber for 50 Australian dollars a month. And there you get access to the WhatsApp community where people are sharing and getting advice. But also within the Patreon app, David does a lot of business coaching and mentoring. So I think you've drilled down to various topics that have cropped up that have been communicated in our WhatsApp group.
I mean, just today we recorded some content. It's quite a nuanced space, and the challenges that business owners and practitioners come up against in this space is quite difficult to get advice on. So always happy to share my knowledge and all of my mistakes and lessons learned along the way.
And then I, of course, tackle injectable content. I often involve patients or talk about new products, anatomy, and all that good stuff. So if you like what we do, consider subscribing to our Patreon. Now let's get back into the podcast. So I want to ask you as a derm about regenerative treatments. Lots of stands here talking about exosomes, polynucleotides, same in Australia. What's your opinion as a derm?
So we are using them. It's a lot of people, a lot of patients come asking for them all over the region, even more so in Dubai and in Qatar as well. We're using exosomes. I really love the results for hair specifically, more than other areas. Also, scars is giving good results. Because for hair, I'm really quite impressed with the results that we're achieving. We just published a paper about use of exosomes in lichen planopilaris, and we had very interesting results because the patient wasn't responding to regular topical treatments. And then the patient improved significantly, even in areas where there was scarring, which was quite impressive. And it was recently published in an international journal. We use a lot of polynucleotides, especially for the dark circles, since that's one of the concerns for a lot of patients in our region as well. Uh, it's giving good results. I like it's more for the tightening of the skin and the fine wrinkles. However, it is giving improvement for dark circles, but it's not as much as we would have loved to see.
Yeah, it seems similar to what we're doing in Australia. It's sort of it's not experimental, but we sort of promise very low expectation. We're seeing nice but subtle results. I haven't used exosomes myself, but polynucleotides a lot. What are your thoughts on the source of exosomes? Plant, animal? Do you have any comments about that?
So we started, of course, to be safer with the plant exosomes. However, we shifted directly to the human exosomes because they give much better results in general, at least in my experience so far. However, we just make sure to explain to patients in the initial consultation that we're using exosomes, and we mention where they're derived from, just to clear that with our patients before using them in general. Uh, I'm quite convinced that with time, the exosomes treatments are going to keep on increasing and improving. I've had zero reactions, and we've used a lot of treatments for different areas over the face as well.
Okay, which brand do you use?
I use ASCII,
ASCII. Right, I don't know that one.
the Korean brand, ASCII, yeah.
Yeah.
It's the most popular one technically.
Okay. Yeah. We've got a few in Australia, but
And
every time I go to a conference, there's different ones.
ASCII is, I think, the biggest company for exosomes currently in the world. And I'm actually going to Korea at the beginning of November. So we're gonna have the big ASCII symposium to also share knowledge, and people come from all over the world to this exosome summit actually. And it's going to be the same time as the Korea Derma. I'm excited to be lecturing in Korea Derma as well.
Yeah, very nice.
For the first time.
Hey guys, quick interruption from me to let you know I will be presenting a workshop for Alma Lasers here in Sydney on the 10th of November at their head office. And it is all about how to build a sustainable and successful aesthetic practice in 2025. If you'd like to register to come along, all of the information will be in our show notes. Looking forward to seeing you there.
So speaking of Korean beauty, K-beauty as it's called, it's been hugely popular in Australia and I know in the United States as well. And people are now focusing really on skin quality. You know, we had the pushback from the over-augmented face. Jake was doing a talk on that earlier today. And there seems to be a much bigger skin focus. Are you seeing that as well in the Middle East?
Yeah, it's starting. So it's mainly in the skincare products because people are looking for the Korean glass skin. I think it's something that's becoming more popular because even big companies like SkinCeuticals, when they launched their Pitiox product, it says like it gives a glassy skin appearance, which is coming from the same concept technically. Lebanon is far away, so we don't have people traveling to Korea for that. But I'm surprised in the last few months, a lot of my patients in Qatar are actually going to Korea to undergo aesthetic treatments, facelift. So it is a thing in our region, of course. Everyone wants the Korean glassy skin technically, but we'll see what that we have to yet understand what that really means.
I was going to say, well,
Because
do
it's
you even believe it's a
completely
thing? Is it
different.
real? What does it mean?
But it's just like they want that glow. It's a completely different skin type, ethnicity, different sun exposure. In Lebanon, with the tanning that they do, I don't think they're gonna have Korean glass skin anytime soon. But we'll work on that.
I think maybe that they just want good skin.
Yeah, that's the idea.
I think that's kind of what it means.
Everyone wants.
Yeah. But for so long, you'd see people with like, beautifully augmented faces, but they had, freckles, broken capillaries, generalized redness, crepiness. But no one really understood that even if you get all of the deficits corrected and you get rid of the wrinkles, people are still going to look aged and not as good as they could because they haven't treated like the canvas, haven't treated like, the actual skin itself.
That's why using like a multimodal approach where we're treating, making sure patients have good skincare, educating patients about not overexposing to the sun, putting sunscreen, combining different treatments in our practice. So we always start with a good skin analysis and good photography so that we can make sure that we're going to take their patients, we're going to take them to an endpoint that's going to be much better and satisfactory to our patients. So we combine different treatments, vascular lasers. It's not one thing anymore. So skin quality injectables. So we combine a lot of different treatments to be able to optimize our results.
Yeah. We've got many listeners around the world who are now starting to incorporate more skin treatments into their practices. So we've got many businesses that just did injectables for a very long time, and now they're realizing they need to introduce skin. And one of the biggest challenges is how do they consult properly for this? Because patients might come in with a certain expectation, and then they have to have, a more detailed discussion around skin quality. And maybe there's, multiple different treatment modalities that they're going to need to do. And I think many practitioners are struggling with having to change this process. So do you have any advice?
We see a lot of patients also per day in our, this is something that also is quite surprising when we compare to other countries. We see many patients on the same day. Maybe much more than doctors. A lot of my friends who are international speakers and trainers in different countries. So a lot of my top KOL friends see 12 patients or 15 patients per day in London. The example in my mind from London at the moment. In Lebanon, we see at least 40 patients, if not more. I'm trying to keep it down to not say more than 40, but the idea is we see much of a larger volume of patients as well. So you have to be really sharp in the consultation. Yet we do manage to make sure that all these touch points are met. How do we do that? I think one of the first things is to have a very strong and knowledgeable team around you, which can take a lot of, which you can delegate a lot to. So one of the first things that we do is a proper skin analysis and photography, and we have people that are doing that with our standardized guidelines for all these different patients. So that opens the skin analysis. We use the Vizia in my practice. It gives the therapist doing the procedure also insights to start putting the patient in different treatments. Like if she has broken capillaries and freckles, we're going to recommend the vascular laser treatment with IPL, for example. If she has pores, she's going to introduce microneedling and fractional lasers or thallium or erbium glass lasers. So we start, this is already something that is already putting the patient in a way that we're going to need multiple treatments, not only injectables. And then another assistant who's been with me for many years and people that we train on the approach for fillers and Botox sees the patients and starts to introduce the full face approach. By the time she comes to to me, I already have an idea about their skin, about what they're coming for, about budget, to be able to tailor treatments as well. So this is something that my assistant already tells me about so that I know how much time to spend with the patient, what is she receptive to. And we always introduce a holistic approach to this patient. And then when we finish the procedure, whether we do it on the same day or not, when she's going out, we make sure that another therapist or the therapist is going to see her again, the same person who did the Vizia, to not change so many therapists. She's going to see her again, book her appointments at the center, not the ones that I do. So the laser treatments and other ones as well. And she's going to double check also her creams, or based on my recommendations or based on her skin type. We have specific recommendations for different categories of treatment, whereby we're going to make sure that she's also going to have a proper skincare before leaving the practice. So even though I'm not doing everything by myself, we still manage to touch a lot of these touch points for patients consulting in my practice.
I think that's good. I mean, but, many practitioners are on their own.
Yeah.
And this is the challenge that they face. So how would you recommend if someone's, on their own, like they're just or maybe
So of
one
course
of
they're
them?
not going to see 40 patients
Yeah,
per
of course.
day. So the idea,
Impossible.
Please don't do that.
so the idea is going to be that again, when you're consulting the patient, you need good photography or a skincare analysis. They have to invest in skincare analysis. Like Vizia is a perfect one of the good ones that I like to use. So it just opens the idea and it also when you come back and see the patient later, when you do it again, you always have something to compare with. Like you've improved, your pores decreased, your pigmentation looks much better, your skin looks much brighter, more refreshed. So even with the injectables that they're doing, if they come back and say, we didn't see any results, we have a reference. And I think that's really important in aesthetics in general.
Yeah. Well, how do you do it as well? Because you're not a dermatologist. You've got you do have a team, but I know you've spoken about some tools you've implemented during your questionnaire processes and sort of things that allow you to sort of open that conversation because you're not a skin expert, but you do refer to other people in your practice.
It's kind of Rami's technique, just a different way.
Yeah.
So I send a lot of free information out that they have to give me before I meet them.
Yes.
Especially about their skin as well as their medical history, etc. And then I just give myself more time. So I'm one of those people who I'm seeing about 10 or 12 a day, not 40. But, I've got an hour with a new patient, so I don't need to rush. I do the photos myself. One, because I don't have an assistant, but two, I'm a little bit anal about that being, exactly consistent, exactly perfect. Because if you don't have that, you don't have anything to track. And someone said a quote once, I can't remember who said this, but if you don't see it, you can't treat it. So the photos are giving not just you, but your patient insight into their face.
Yeah.
Patients, I don't think understand their face. They like what they see trending on Instagram, but what is going to suit them and what they need is often very different. So if you just show them their face, educate them in a consultation, they will be much more receptive to be educated. And it's a lot easier that way.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I couldn't see 40 a day. I'd probably kill myself.
You have to come visit me in Dubai.
Yeah, 100%. I'd love to come. Do you see any role for technology like AI, like any cool new tools that are going to help your practice be a bit more efficient or better?
I think we're getting there eventually. We always have to keep with all the technology that's coming up. So I think there's going to be a role it's going to be easier to have a good skin analysis. It's going to be easier to have better before and after photos. I've seen some of the applications that take few pictures and then they have the 3D imaging that we do with our live viz. So I think we're getting there. I think that we can use these tools positively to at least reference, make the photography and the other treatments that we do a little bit faster. This is where I see it so far, but I'm not the tech expert. But I mean, hopefully I'll get there or get someone to help us get there if it becomes a regular part of practice.
So obviously we've got medical tourism. It's been around for a long time, but it's not slowing down. And funnily enough, when I got started in the industry, people used to go to Lebanon for treatments. And you're now saying people are going from Lebanon to Korea and Qatar. So I mean, it's kind of interesting how it's so kind of shifted. But how do you see this region's specific influence impacting the rest of the world?
So Lebanon has always been a hub for beauty. Dubai was working really hard on making Dubai also a hub for beauty. I think medical tourism is very important, and Lebanon treatments are technically a little bit cheaper than in other regions in the Gulf. So we have a lot of all the Lebanese patients, even if they see us in Dubai and Qatar and undergo specific treatments, they still come back to Lebanon to do the bulk of their treatment, because when it's a bulk treatment like full face approach or multiple treatments, then it's probably more economic for them to do it in Lebanon, and they trust the doctors and the expertise in Lebanon in general. Actually, I had a patient who was quite interesting. It was she's from Australia, and she's a foreigner living in Qatar, and she came and visited me, and she has some Lebanese friends, and she's just mentioned like, would you how much would this cost me in Lebanon? And it was like quite there was a difference, because she was doing a full face approach, she was doing her neck, she was doing radius for her hands, she was doing both so she was doing it all. And then the situation in Lebanon at that moment specifically wasn't the greatest. It's like our Lebanese patients were quite worried about visiting Lebanon. And I would just give her, okay, I will call you. I'll try to see if I can be able to come. And within like 10 days, she booked her ticket. She came in on the morning flight and went back on her night flight. She did all the treatments that we discussed in one go. And we followed up with her in Qatar. And then she looked great. And in a short period of time, her sister came and consulted. And I was like, she has no Lebanese friends. She's never been to Lebanon. And she flew to Lebanon to get treated. So it's quite interesting.
That's a good point. Do you have all the products available in Lebanon? And obviously with, the political situation and geopolitics.
No, we had a great summer. We had we never ran out of products. So Allergan was just telling me that Lebanon is one of the weird countries whereby with everything that we passed through since 2019 from inflation, instability, war, yet we're able to maintain very good numbers when it comes to treatments in general, even during hardships. So
that's super interesting.
Lebanese are quite resilient when it comes to aesthetic specific.
My talk, I was just saying that we've all seen a global drop in HA filler, sales, and that's multifactorial. But one of them was just the economics, people's cost of living crisis, especially in Australia with high interest rates. But you guys are going through way more, like wars and sort of political instability, and yet people still want their Botox.
Yeah, of course.
That's super interesting. Do you see a high economic sort of demographic, or do you see people from all backgrounds?
No, we see people from all backgrounds, which is also quite interesting. It is a priority. Lebanese really like to take their time and take care of themselves. It's one of them looking good, looking their best is a priority. And there's a lot of knowledge, and a lot of people are educated, so they know the benefits of treatment, and they prioritize that, which is good for us.
Where does that come from culturally? Like, it's a bit like the Brazilians. They will just do everything to look, their best.
Lebanese are trendsetters, and maybe it's the influence. I think
it used to be called the Paris of the Middle East.
Yes, that's part of it.
Yeah. Do you have any advice for practitioners that are listening or watching this, when they have a Middle Eastern or African patient that comes into their clinic for the first time and they're not familiar with how to approach it?
Yeah, so again, I just mentioned since the beginning that the results have to be natural yet visible. So make sure that you don't use the softest products. So make sure that there will be a little bit of visible results when it comes to patients. Usually they're easy. It won't be a challenge because, again, structurally, it's very similar to the different Caucasian patients. What else did we talk about? What else to do?
Oh, just in terms of how they approach the face, in terms of, they're not familiar with that aesthetic for the first time.
Yeah, I think the focus should always be on mid-face and lips technically, and Botox. These are the ones that patients in our region enjoy the most, the top 3 procedures.
I think we need to change the term to naturally unnatural.
Yeah. Well, I think it's beautification. That's how it's
natural. That's ideal.
They're more comfortable
natural,
with showcasing, those feminine things like cheekbones, lips, and big eyes. You were trying to showcase those things.
Yeah.
Whereas I think, stereotypically our Caucasian patients, it's got to be a bit more dialed down.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. I guess final question, what excites you about the future of our sort of industry and your region? Anything coming that you've heard of that's going to be game changing for your practice, or any new products or anything like that?
I don't know where fat will come back soon in different ways. I think the results that we're seeing in different conferences quite intriguing and interesting. I think we're already very well up in what we're doing. So when you're combining Sculptra and Radius and energy-based devices with properly structuring the face with hyaluronic acid and both, I think we're doing a great job already, but I think there's always more that's going to come. And we're excited to be doing what we're doing every day and making sure that we're making people more beautiful, more confident, and pushing them in their personal and their social lives. It's the best specialty to be in at the moment. Again, despite all the hardships my country has been through, yet we still work really well. It tells you that it won't dial down anytime soon. On the contrary, it's only pushing forward.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for talking to us. We want to do this for years. It's really good to hang out with you at ICC.
Getting me. Yeah, thank you so much.
We hope you enjoyed that episode, guys. To stay up to date with our latest news and episodes, follow us on Instagram, and we're now on TikTok.
You can also now watch our full video episodes on YouTube and Spotify. So if you like what we do, please give us a like and subscribe. Please also consider joining our Patreon for invaluable business and injectable education. Get access to our global community of like-minded professionals, hints and tips videos, bonus podcast content, and more.
All of our social links, Patreon, and contact information are in the show notes below, and we'll see you in the next episode.